All right. We're going to start in just a moment. I'm going to give everybody just a minute to get logged in. But I do want to say welcome to everybody. As you guys know, my name is Ginger. I'm the Executive Director of Connectionology Seminars of America. We are so excited to have you with us today because this is a brand new topic that we're doing, and we're going to have a whole lot of fun. I want to make sure that if you guys have any questions, be sure to put that in the Q&A box, and that way I'll take a look at those and monitor them. And we'll probably answer most of those questions towards the end of the webinar. And then later, you're going to hear from our incredible partners over at HMR, On Point Legal Nurse Consulting, as well as our brand new partner, Fox AE, incredible group. And we're so excited to introduce you guys to them. So I think everybody is joining right now. We'll get started in just a moment. And also, be on the lookout for some incredible emails soon from me because we're launching our Jackson Hole seminar, which is a very special seminar that we're going to be doing at the end of September. And we've got some amazing speakers coming to that. It's going to be a smaller, intimate seminar, and a lot of great things are going to be happening. So be on the lookout for that. I really hope you guys will plan on joining us in the most beautiful city this fall. But let's go ahead and get started, guys, because we got a lot to talk about today. As you guys know, our amazing speaker, Mr. John Romano, he is the founder of the Romano Law Group in West Palm Beach. And a neat fact about John is that before he became one of America's beloved trial lawyers, he was actually a captain in the United States Marine Corps. He's also board certified. He's gone to trial in just about every single type of civil and criminal case that you can think of. And he was also inducted in the Trial Lawyers Hall of Fame back in 2016. He's also an author. He's one of the most sought after speakers. And I want to say there is not a state that John has not spoken in yet, except for Hawaii. And he will be making that happen next year. And I am so excited about that. In addition, he's also past president of the National Trial Lawyers, the Melvin Belli Society, the Florida Justice Association, as well as the Southern Trial Lawyers Association. But we all know that at home, John Romano is actually the vice president to Miss Nancy Romano. And they this year will be celebrating their 52nd wedding anniversary in September. And they also have 11 beautiful grandchildren. John, you are an inspiration to all of us. We are so excited about today's webinar, and we really appreciate everything that you do for your firm and your clients and everybody watching today.
Ginger, thank you. Thank you so much for all you do for all of us. As I have told you, and I tell other people all the time, you are the one who became the face of CLE in America when the pandemic hit, and have done now, we're way beyond 200 plus webinars, and the work you're doing on the live seminars is just amazing. And I hope that everybody understands that they should be appreciating you and all that you have been doing. So I'm glad that we're here together and doing this fun webinar today. The more you take, the more you leave. What is it? I'll repeat that. The more you take, the more you leave. It's a riddle. And we don't have time to all play games with this because of the nature of our communications here. But the answer is footsteps. When somebody gives you a good riddle, there's usually two components. Often they give you the answer at the beginning, which didn't happen in this riddle. And also there's a component of trickery to distract you into thinking something else. Here's another one. David's father has 3 sons: Snap, Crackle, and I don't know if you're there in your kitchens or your offices or wherever, but I'll repeat that. Another riddle. David's father has 3 sons, Snap, Crackle, and I'm sure some of you have come up with the answer. The answer is David. So I'm going to give you one more, and I want to just tell you riddles are about communications. Riddles are about thinking. They're about testing our brain And that's what we're going to talk about today. Communications and how we get a message from our brain into somebody else's brain. So here we go. There's a man at home one night. He leaves home. He makes a left-hand turn, then he makes another left-hand turn, then he makes another left-hand turn. Suddenly he finds himself back at home. When he gets back home, there are two masked men waiting for him. Who are they? Did you get that? There's a man at home one night. He leaves home. He makes a left-hand turn, then he makes another left-hand turn, then he makes another left-hand turn. Suddenly he finds himself back at home. When he gets back home, there are two masked men waiting for him. Who are they? I'll throw in a hint this time. I'm guessing some of you might have guessed it. There's a man at home one night. He has something in his hand. He leaves home. He throws it on the ground. He makes a left-hand turn. Then he makes another left-hand turn. Then he makes another left-hand turn. Suddenly he finds himself back at home. When he gets back home, there are two masked men waiting for him. Who are the masked men? Well, I'm going to give you the answer. I know that some of you may have gotten it already, but the masked men would be the pitcher and the catcher. You see, it's a baseball player. But as soon as I say to you, there's a man at home one night, you think of it being dark outside, you think in your mind of a residential area. And then he's making turns. And then masked men, you think, oh, who's that going to be? Some kind of SWAT team waiting for him, or is it criminals, or who is it? But in the beginning, there were things done to throw you off. And there are many more riddles we could talk about. So I'm going to shift over to sharing the screen now, and we're going to talk about communications, how to get people thinking, and how to do something very special that we're going to talk about. I have new equipment here today, and I'm going to tell you about it in a minute. It is fantastic. And I'm going to hit share content, scroll down, share it to meeting. All right. Brain merging. What do I mean by brain merging? What is that? Brain merging is when I have an idea, a concept, a position, an argument in my brain, and I in some way effectively transfer what is in my brain through effective communication. I transfer it into your brain so that you understand and comprehend it, you accept it, you believe it, and then you act upon it. That is what we are doing when we are in trial. We are trying to brain merge, to merge that which is in our brains with the brains of the jurors, to take information, positions, arguments from our brain, get them into the brain of the jurors so that the jurors do what? Understand and comprehend, accept, believe as true, and then what? They act upon that information. Example, with a favorable verdict. The Nixon-Kennedy debates, 1960. Several debates. Some very interesting things because people were not used to presidential debates at that time. Had not happened in a long time in our country's history. But you had these two, in many ways, extraordinary candidates, each one very smart, articulate, that would go head to head and talk policy and ideas, philosophy, and vision. Reagan.
President Washington began this tradition in 1790 after reminding the nation that the destiny of self-government and the preservation of the sacred fire of liberty is finally staked on the experiment entrusted to the hands of the American people. For our friends in the press who place a high premium on accuracy, let me say, I did not actually hear George Washington say that.
Policy of openment.
And here the picture is much bigger than just, did they fail to give this to the FDA? Here you take into account all of their actions. And you either bless them and say, yes, that's acceptable in the United States of America. We as the jury say, treat us that way. Or you say, no, that is not allowed and that is not tolerated. And
That is the great Mark Lanier out of Houston, Texas, in a summation in New Jersey in a Vioxx case. You saw some of our former presidents in these debates. Ronald Reagan with his extraordinary persona, John F. Kennedy, a very similar persona. What was the magic? What was it that was happening with their communications that made things change?
and here,
Another debate, presidential candidates going at it. And yet, another one that we remember back in the early 90s with 3 candidates. And more. So, the first debate, you might say, this is the Nixon-Kennedy debate. Who won? When the pollsters did their work after the debate, here's what they were hearing in the analysis. Nixon was pale, he was unshaven. Kennedy had a tan. He didn't really have some great tan. He had an illness for which he took medication, and the effects of the illness and the medication were to make it appear as though he was tan. Also, Nixon had a knee injury while on the campaign trail. Only a few weeks before, there was a horrible infection. He ended up in the hospital, which became national news. He was weak. He lost over 20 pounds. People didn't know all of the details. Kennedy came across as confident, according to these people, and Nixon as nervous. In that first debate, there were 70 million viewers, and Kennedy edged out Nixon. Not a landslide, but he edged him out. In the second and third debates, the data from the pollsters revealed Nixon won. Again, not a landslide. He edged out John F. Kennedy. But look at what happened. It went from 70 million in the debate where Kennedy won to 20 million each in the 2 debates that Nixon won. So you might be asking, okay, now who was watching 2 and 3? And what was the effect on most of the voters who watched the first time? You may say in your trial, what difference does opening statement make versus summation? What's happening when the jurors are totally focused on everything, and a little later in the trial where they say, you know what, I got it. I understand what this is all about, and get your summations moving, but let's move on. The fourth debate, it was called a draw. And then nationally, we know that President Kennedy won in the Electoral College, but the popular vote, he won by roughly 100,000 votes, which somebody later penned in a newspaper article that was an average of 1 vote per precinct. For those who watched the first debate on television, they believed Kennedy won. For those who listened to the first debate on radio, they believed Nixon won. So the concept of what we are showing, or show and tell, or perhaps demonstrating, and we'll talk about that shortly, makes all the difference in the world. Body language is a key.
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat.
Plays goes into the record book with Corbett, Tully, and Braddock as another who brought off one of the great upsets in the heavyweight history.
Leave the game just like I came in, beating a big bad monster who knocks out everybody and no one can whoop him. That's when that little Cassius Clay from Louisville, Kentucky came up and stopped Sonny Liston, the man who annihilated Floyd Patterson twice. He was going to kill me. He hit harder than George. His reach was longer than George. He's a better boxer than George.
What an extraordinary communicator we had in Muhammad Ali. There have been a few people in the history of this country that when you're watching TV, if for some reason they're on, you don't move past them. A few will, but most won't. Muhammad Ali is one of them. When you watch him, you see he's not only animated, even when he's quiet, he's somewhat animated, but he's using all of the tools of a great communicator, which include hand gesture, cadence, pause versus no pause, and much more that we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Didn't fit. Remember these words. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
We all remember seeing that back in that famous trial in the 1990s. And Johnny Cochran, who was already somewhat famous, shot to superstardom and was on virtually every TV show imaginable. So we're going to talk first about theme, theory, case, image. These three items are of exceptional importance in every single case you have. I don't care if you're representing a quadriplegic in a product liability case or a plaintiff or defendant in a breach of a promissory note case. There is a theme, a theory, and a case image. When we talk about theme, we're talking about, it can be a soundbite, but it doesn't have to be. It may be stated in a few words, but it's where you tell the jury throughout the case what that, the grip, the feel, the taste, the smell of the case is all about. A theme is not to be developed the Sunday night before a Monday jury selection. You start developing the theme when the client first meets you in the initial client interview. You continue to develop the theme and allow it to evolve throughout the case. And you utilize the theme in your discovery and depositions and more. The great Mo Levine, in an opening statement in New York City, where mom and dad took the kids for dinner, dad orders pork, it was not cooked properly, he dies. There's a wrongful death suit. The judge says, Mr. Levine, are you ready to begin your opening? And all you see in the transcript, it says, Mr. Levine, and then the words are these: worms, worms. This is a case about worms. And then he goes on with his opening. In other cases, you'll hear in a medical malpractice case, for example, this is a case about a physician who ran a medical red light or a medical stop sign. You have to be careful of these, and you've got to consider how they can backfire on you. I was trying a trucking case. It involved the wrongful death of a young girl who was with her friends waiting for the school bus when a truck driver fell asleep, ran off the other side of the road and went right over her as she was sitting on her lunch pail with And the other girls would get up and practice cheers, and they were all alternating. She was the one who was killed. Mr. Romano, are you ready to begin your opening? We bring to you this morning a case unlike the course of normal human events. We bring to you the case of a young mom and dad standing on a hillside under a tree at the gravesite of their little girl. That was the word picture, which we'll talk about more in a while, that we wanted to create in the minds of the jurors, hoping it would not leave their minds. So theme, very important to your communications, but you're developing and letting that theme evolve every step of the way in the handling of the case. Theory is your logical analysis as to how whatever it is happened, how it occurred. So if somebody is driving along and reaches for coffee, picks up the coffee, and it starts to spill hot coffee on the driver's right hand, and the driver looks to tend to it, but pulls the wheel over to the right and strikes someone on a bicycle, that may be the analysis in a step-by-step fashion that you explain to the jury, where you set the stage as to who was involved, what happened, how it could have been prevented. That's all your theory of the case. Case image is vital. If I were to ask anyone who is watching this webinar right now, tell me about your high school graduation. Immediately, there are pictures that flash into your mind. Usually there's a first picture, and it might be getting a hug from your mother. It might be the diploma being handed to you by the principal of the school. It might be a mischievous student or a fun-loving student, perhaps, who's up on the stage, gets the diploma, turns around and moons the crowd. But whatever it is, you're going to remember it because that image was indelibly stamped into your brain. Same thing with a wedding day or a vacation or things that happened in law school or the military or in life and work. With the case image, you have to think ahead of time. What are the images we want to stamp in the minds of the jurors indelibly so that they will stay on their minds when they go back in the jury deliberation room to deliberate? I'll give you one example, and we could spend time on about a dozen. We're going to hit one. If you want others, you give me a call. We'll chat over the weekend, and I'll go through some of the others with you. But we had a case where Dad was driving. Grandma's in the right front seat, and in the right second row, there's 3 rows of seats. Mom is on the right side. Baby, just a couple of 3 months old, is in the middle seat in a car seat. Another child on the left-hand seat, properly belted in and in a booster seat. And then there were 2 more kids back in the 3rd row. Bad wreck occurred. It was a head-on collision, the other person's fault. And among other things, Mom was the one who was most seriously injured. She was in the hospital for several months. She was hooked up to all kinds of gear and equipment. When the right time had come, the doctors said they were going to allow the children to come in and see Mom only for 2 or 3 minutes, and then they had to get them out. So this was all set up, and Mom was beyond thrilled and excited she was about to see her kids for the first time in a long time. Now, the young baby that I told you about, the 2 or 3 month old that was in the car seat, was now a few months older, but I want to say somewhere in 10 or 11 months old by the time this happened. And mom's sister brought her in, and mom, who had been unable to pretty much move around in the bed, was able to sit up. They tried to clean her up and wash her hair for this occasion. It was very special. And as she sat up, mom reached out, and sister took the baby, turns the baby, and goes to hand off the baby to the mother. But the baby, of course, sees, she doesn't recognize her mother, and she sees all this gadgetry making noise, hoses and pipes and wires and all that, and the baby starts just having a total meltdown, afraid and crying and kicking and screaming. And it causes mom to start crying uncontrollably, and everybody's crying. And they have to take the child out of the room. As the sister was explaining that on the stand during her testimony, we knew that would be an image that would stay with everyone forever, but especially back in the deliberation room, as to what that mother was going through and what that family was going through. So think about case image, very, very important. There's a great teacher, a splendid lawyer out west named Dan Ambrose, and I'm sure a lot of you listening know Dan or know of him. He is the creator and the developer of something called Trial Lawyers University. And this is an extraordinary program. Actually, the Panish College, which is connected to TLU, is going on at the end of July out in Marina del Rey in California. And then in late October, Trial Lawyers University has a multi-day program that is as extraordinary as any program I've ever seen in terms of continuing education. Dan Ambrose has developed something he refers to as the 10 cornerstones of connecting. Now, he doesn't call them the Ambrose 10 cornerstones. I do. So I'm going to go through these with you quickly, and then we're going to talk more about them as we go through our presentation here. Eye contact, hand gestures. Can you just backing up a moment, can you imagine a John F. Kennedy or Ronald Reagan or Muhammad Ali simply standing like this, arms at each's at his side, and talking without there being any movement at all? No, the movement, the eye contact, the glances, the way the shoulders move and the body moves and all is a part of communication, and it's vital. Emotional congruence, pace, cadence, pause. Machine gun talkers come across, according to studies, as less credible. If you're talking too fast, it's tough for people to follow the point you are trying to make. Slow it down. Glance control. Word selection is key. We're going to go into that in more detail in just a little bit. Word economy. Listening. Voice pitch and tone. By the way, Mark Lanier, I guess part of what I always try to do is tell you about other lawyers or other people who are teaching, but Mark Lanier does the Lanier College in Houston each year. It just happened in June, and one of the things he talks about is voice control, voice tone, voice pitch. So very, very important when you are communicating, when you are in the courtroom, when you are in depositions. And then Dan says, be kind. And his feeling is that an aura or persona of kindness makes all the difference in the world when it comes to communicating. Then elevate, we're going to hit this fast, and then I'm going to go into more detail in some other areas. 5 keys to the connection door: establish common ground, keep it simple, create an experience. That is so, so important for storytellers. If you sit down with 2 4-year-olds and you start reading at a rapid pace and they're not experiencing the fun of what you're reading, it's not a good story, it's not an experience, it's not anything. But when mommy sits down with them and is constantly looking at them and using animal sounds as she speaks to try to imitate that's where the experience comes from. It's the same thing in all of our communications. Inspire others in connecting and demonstrate credibility. All right. We're going to get into some specifics now. One way most of us diminish our persuasiveness or our communication abilities or our credibility, and at the same time, we make it appear as though we're less confident or less competent, is through the use of filler words and sounds. The only way to rid yourself of filler words and sounds, which we all use from time to time, is practice and have people around you practice with you, so that when you use filler words and sounds, they say something to you to remind you. And then little by little, you get better at eliminating these sounds. I just want to say this out of your vocabulary. Get out of your vocabulary. Don't get me wrong, I do it. We all do it. But it's unnecessary. It's just more of a sound. By the way, go ahead and turn on any of the news shows tonight. I don't care if you agree with the people or disagree. What is missing from their vocabulary? Filler words and sounds. They don't do it because they know it detracts from them as either news reporters or journalists or as opinionators, whatever it is that you want to call them. Some of these clearly very obvious, the ums and the ahs, get rid of like. So many people are using it. So many people say so. We use the word well. We start off sentences with frankly. It's totally unnecessary. Actually, unnecessary. And I see Ginger popping up there. What I'll do is, Ginger, I'll finish this slide and then we'll transition back to you for a few minutes. I mean, another one. Okay. I cannot tell you how many times I look back on a transcript where I am in a deposition. So I commit this sin myself. I will say to a witness, when you first looked up at the light, what color was it? Well, it was red. And I go, okay. Then I'll ask another question. And the next thing I knew is I looked back at the transcript and maybe 100 times after a witness responds to something, I go, okay. Totally get these out. Absolutely. By the way, the word absolute or absolutely is the least persuasive and credible word in the English language when it comes to persuasiveness in the courtroom. So when you have an expert being cross-examined and the expert says, the defense counsel says, are you 100% certain of your opinion? You want that expert to say, yes, sir, I am 100% certain, and not absolutely. You don't want that. All right. So basically is another one. And I'm not giving all of them to you. These are the main ones. Literally is another big one. All right, Ginger, I
John.
will turn it back to you, and I'm going to try to leave.
And I've got to say, John, I think I'm guilty of some of those words. You know, I'm looking through them and I'm like, ooh, I need to work on that. One thing when I was younger is I used to always say y'all. And it was, I don't know if it was a Southern thing, but I used to say it all the time in words when I talk to people. And now I work really hard not to say that. But, this has been fantastic so far. I hope everybody's getting a whole lot out of this.
We haven't gotten to the fun stuff yet. It's coming.
Oh, this is great. And real quick question before I bring Tamara in. Michael wanted to know, is it possible to get a copy of your slides after this webinar?
Of course, yes.
Okay, great. And would you like everyone to reach out to you directly?
I'll send them to you, Ginger, and then they can go right to Connectionology to get them.
Perfect. All right, that sounds great. It looks like Tamara is with us, you guys. I am so excited. She's actually one of our amazing partners over at On Point Legal Nurse Consulting, and they have been with us for so long throughout all of these webinars, all of our seminars that we've been going to throughout the years, and we are so excited to have her with us. She's going to share with you a little bit more about what they specialize in.
Ginger, can you hear me okay?
I sure can.
Awesome. It's always good to see you guys. Thanks, John. I was thinking about all the trials I participated in when I worked at the law firm jobs and how key communication when you're explaining things to the jury and being able to sit back and watch both sides of how well or how poorly and the effect that it had on the outcome. So totally agree with that. And all those filler words. Okay, you can quiz me when I'm done talking and see if I used any of them. So I'm Tamara. I'm one of the On Point program directors. Happy to be here to tell you about what we do. We are a full service litigation support company. We've been around for over 27 years. We have attorney clients in 40 states, so we're really proud of that. Basically, we fill the needs for our attorneys from the very beginning of the case all the way through litigation, trial, and settlement. So from beginning to end, we can help with that pesky task, necessary, tedious task of record retrieval, record organization with LCR and indexing. We have an incredible team of legal nurse consultants that have collectively hundreds of years of experience in every area of healthcare, from labor and delivery, neonatal and pediatric ICU, all the way up to geriatrics and anything in between those areas. We can help you with merit reviews. Our nurses have looked at every kind of case from TBIs all the way to complex ankle injuries and everything in between. Our nurse team can do chronologies and timelines that are very detailed and helpful. We can help you identify missing records, red flags, all kinds of strengths and weaknesses and that kind of thing. If you need an expert, Dawn, our program director, is very helpful with her team in finding experts that are fully vetted at no cost to you. And they're in every specialty and niche that you can imagine. And that those are sometimes tough to find, but they do a really great job. If you have any cases that involve the geriatric population, nursing homes, skilled facilities, long-term care, assisted living, group homes, personal care homes, Ingrid, our program director, has a very busy division where she helps you find, does merit reviews, helps you find nurse and physician experts, and can do reports as well. As I said, we can do the merit reviews and reports. We can help you find experts. We all basically work together to make the medical clear and understandable so you can focus on the legal aspect of your cases, and that saves you time and money. So I will put our information in the chat box, and Ginger will post it as well. If you have any questions, we would love to hear from you. We'd love for you to become a new attorney-client partner. Thanks, Ginger. Thanks, Jen.
Tamara, great job. Thank you. My first thanks is to let you know how much we appreciate On Point and what you all are doing, and being a partner with us and helping to sponsor these webinars and seminars. You all have been such a supporter, and we can't thank you enough.
Oh, you're welcome.
The second thing, though, is there's a reason why I work with you. There's a reason why our law firm works with you, and so many law firms around the country do. You all are responsive. You work hard. You have great attitudes when we get in touch with you, including times when on a Saturday night we call with an urgent matter, and the responsiveness has been extraordinary. I've said this before, I love those pain and suffering reports that you all do. The chronologies are incredible, the medical summaries, the timelines, all of those. But another special feature of the work that you all do, and we've had it done in many cases. By the way, we just, I think Marjorie in our office is just calling you because we're doing it on another case right now. We like the nurse interview of the client and certain witnesses, because no matter what we as lawyers think about how good we might be able to do or be at interviewing, we don't do it the way a nurse does it. And we don't pull out the medical information the way that you all do. So I can't thank you enough for all you do, and we'll continue to work with you. And I'm going to say one more thing. You mentioned how you're going to watch for the filler words to keep them out of your vocabulary. I started focusing on that when I met Hale V. Starr out of Des Moines, Iowa, the first trial consultant. She was a juropsychologist that I ever worked with. And when we got up, before we did the first mock trial exercise, she wanted me to get up and just practice at something. And as I sat there, all of a sudden, she throws a ping pong ball at me. And I said, "What was that?" She goes, I'm sorry, that was silly. I shouldn't have done that. Keep going. So I started again, and I used a filler word, or I said, or something like that. She tosses a ping pong ball at me, and that she gave us a talk to really get us into thinking about filler words. So again, thank you, On Point. We love what you're doing, and thank you, Tamara.
We love partnering with you too, Jen. Thank you.
I don't know about you guys, but I love these stories. Thank you, John. And thank you, Tamara. Don't forget to put your information in the chat box, okay?
I'll do that right now. Thanks.
And I hope everybody watching will save her information, as well as our other partners as well. I want to bring in now Laura with HMR. Laura, we're so happy to have you. I know you're traveling today, so thank you for being available. And If you don't mind, tell us a little bit more about what you guys do over there, because I know it's a lot of great work.
Thank you. Yes, it's great to be here. So, and I just used a filler word. There we go. So I get a ping pong ball. So at HMR Servicing, you're really getting a team of folks to help you with your personal injury claimant cases where you have medical needs that you're trying to find solutions for. What we do is we work together with your case background information. We work together with our underwriters and our case managers and folks like me to quickly underwrite your case, determine what the medical needs are with that specific case, and then look for solutions with board certified providers. So ideally, we offer medical funding that is very easy to put into place. We also offer pre-settlement funding training that might be needed as one of your claimants is actually going through their rehabilitation or going through surgeries, that type of thing. Lastly, we offer direct to our law firms case cost funding as well. So there really isn't anything from the beginning of the case all the way through to trial that HMR servicing can't help you with. The way that you get started is go to our website at hmrservicing.com. Most of our firms will upload their case background information, which gives us the ability to look at everything in detail. From there, we're really, we're going to work with you and work with your claimant to find out what are the next steps with treatment. You're given that information along the way, so there's not anything that we fund that you, the attorney, are not aware of. We're presenting what is needed at each step of medical treatment, and you're able to talk to your client and figure out what is the next step truly that is needed. So it's really a partnership when we work with our firms, and we know that we're not needed for every single case, but for the right case, there is virtually nothing that we cannot do medically, whether it's something as simple as imaging that is needed all the way through to traumatic brain injury rehabilitation, or heaven forbid, an amputation. So we have the ability to really partner with you and see your case through all the way to a trial. But I do want to just share with you that if you have questions, a lot of times it's not unusual that we have firms that want us to take a look at the case and really give our opinion. And that is something that is done at no cost to you. So getting on our website and submitting your case background takes you a little bit of time, but we do roll up our sleeves and really give you all of our effort once we have that information. Thank you. I really appreciate being here today.
Well, thank you, Laura. And as you know, our law firm has been working with HMR, with you all, for many, many years now, and we will continue to work with you. It's not a matter of just that responsiveness, which is so important to us, but when we have a case, what I've always loved about it is you all come into it and you vet it, you analyze it, you assess it, you evaluate every aspect of it. But you're not only evaluating the case, you're evaluating the lawyer, the law firm, the client, all of the different aspects of what goes into it to make sure that you're going to be doing what is best for the client. And if everybody on the team or teams works together to do what is best for the client, we all end up in good shape. And we love working with you all. And I thank you again and again and your entire team for all the support you're giving to us at Connectionology Seminars of America. We just love working with you, and we're going to keep doing that.
Thank you for that, John. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ginger.
Thank you, Laura. And don't forget to put your information in chat as well, okay? All right. I'm very excited, John. I can't wait to see what's next. I'm going to hand it back over to you, and let's go ahead and open up the slides again.
All right. Well, I'll do that in a minute. I want to show everybody a couple of things here about how communications have adjusted over the years and the way people communicate with us. And this is from an old Look magazine in 1949, the year I was born. It's an ad for Old Gold cigarettes. And the commercial shows a little dog and a very nice, sweet person smiling, holding a pack of cigarettes, saying, "No medical blarney. We simply say, for a treat instead of a treatment, smoke Old Gold." So here's another one. Look magazine, 1947, Camel cigarettes. It's about helping the military by smoking. And it says, "We bought a war stamp for Bobby and Camels for you." And you look at these, I won't say in disbelief, but we look back and just go, wow, how these things just amaze us when we see these. In one of these, there is a medical doctor bragging about how good cigarettes are for your health and everybody should smoke. Here's another one, a movie actress and a singer, and it says her singing coach advised a light smoke. She prefers Lucky's because they're easier on the throat. A light smoke, easy on your throat, it's toasted. And then as you read it, it talks about how wonderful cigarettes are. And the ads in here, in all of these magazines, just amazing when you sit down and you look at some of these things. There are a few books that I want to recommend to you. Let me move this aside a second. I'm going to sit right here, go through these. Book Beyond Bullet Points. 4th edition, Using PowerPoint to Tell a Persuasive Story That Gets Results. Cliff Atkinson. Only recently, I was talking with Mark Lanier, Satch Oliver, Dino Colombo, Lisa Blue, and others. They all recommend this book, and several of them work with Cliff Atkinson. Beyond Bullet Points, it will help you in putting things together for your cases. Another book, very important, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, Kahneman, a tremendous book about the thought process and about how the mind works. This is one that is a must. These are all musts, but this is a must. This is by John Truby, Truby, The Anatomy of Story. And he walks you through in this book all of the things to check off as you're creating and developing a story. Finally, one more here. Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. And you'll read all about communication skills, etc., in the book. Now, some of you might be saying, does Romano have a cameraman in that room with him? I'm pleased to tell you, no. This is a brand new technology, and today is the first time I'm using it. What is extraordinary about this is if somebody else were to walk into the room, there's only one camera, by the way, it's not a series of cameras. It picks them up and shows them on a separate screen. And if there are 4 people that walk in the room, it shows 4 separate screens. And at the front, it picks up our sound. So if you're doing a webinar, if you're doing a video conference call and you want to show things to people, communicate effectively to people, you're doing a podcast, with this new technology, it's like a cameraman on control in the room. So instead of having a camera woman over here and a cameraman over here, I have neither. It will follow me around. And I'm going to give you the information on this. It's best to walk slow because it will follow me wherever I go in the room. And then I can come over and I can show things to you. You didn't think you were going to get a technology tip from me. I know that. And I can see some of you who I know who are watching laughing. But this equipment, it's called Neat Bar Pro. That's N as in Nestle's Crunch Bars. That shows you where my mind is. Neat Bar, B-A-R, Pro, P-R-O-W. And the best thing to do is the professional who set it all up for us is Kevin Piana, P-I-A-N-A, with Palm Beach Prestige Innovations. And my suggestion is if you just call to Kevin, he'll go ahead and walk you through it or recommend how you get the equipment or who you might chat with to get the equipment. So with that, I'm going to go back to share content. Scroll down, share meeting. All right, perfect. And although Kevin is not in the, come here, Kevin, come here a second. Kevin Piana, everybody, period. Actually, stand right there and they'll get to see how this works. You see what just happened? Look at that. It just, we're in two separate screens. So what I can do is I walk over here, that camera stays on him. It's all one camera though, and I cannot explain how that works, but it's really extraordinary. And if several other people walk in, it's the same thing. But Kevin is the one, you want to contact him, Palm Beach Prestige Innovations. All right, Kevin. Power words and phrases. The language of discovery, the language in hearings, the language in your interpersonal relationships, the language in mediation, appeals, briefs. It makes a huge difference. You don't just spew out any words. You've got to think through, what do these words mean? What am I conveying? The most persuasive words, and these are developed by psychologists and wordsmiths and English teachers and all that, not by me, but the most persuasive and powerful words in terms of selling things, selling ideas, persuading in the English language: new, free, now, guaranteed, proven. You see these? The persuadee's own name. Do you know that the most, it's amazing, but the most persuasive word is when you refer to someone by his or her own name. Then they turn, you got their attention, especially if it's a stranger, if it's a teacher, if it's a police officer, if it's a drill instructor, I don't care who it is, but others in your life. Exclusive, limited, easy, safe. There's the list. And again, I know I said this a little bit ago, we're going to send this keynote presentation, because I do these on Mac. We'll send them to Ginger. She will make them available. And I believe there are ways they can get to you. And if you have a PowerPoint, you can switch them over, or you can look at them in a PDF or other format. Least persuasive, weak words. Look at these. I know some of you have heard me say this before, but the example I love to use is this. People will stand in front of a jury and say, you heard their expert, their accident reconstruction expert said, our plaintiff was going 60 miles an hour. You heard our expert say she was going 30 miles an hour. I think you'll find we should win that issue because our expert's right. As soon as you say, I think, you've just told the listener you're not sure. Imagine, you heard Ginger at the beginning, Nancy and I are coming up on 52 years, September 5th. 52 years. Imagine if on the morning of our 52nd anniversary, I wake up and I say to Nancy, happy anniversary, I think I love you. She would say, you think? It wouldn't go over well. Imagine if you said to your mom or dad on Mother's Day or Father's Day, happy Mother's Day, Mom. I think I appreciate all you've done for me. Your mother go, what do you mean you think you appreciate? Get these words out of your vocabulary. Get them out. What makes people just run to certain other people? And they want to be around them, they want to talk to them, they want to hear from them, they want to learn to them, they want to discuss things with them, they want to have dinner with. What does that? Do you know that in the history of Hollywood, only one actor or actress has ever had a 7 consecutive year run as the #1 box office attraction, not only in the United States, but on planet Earth?
Animal crackers in my soup. That's okay, but I have fun swallowing animals one by one. In every bowl of soup I see, lions and tigers watching me. I make them jump right through those animal crackers in my soup. When I get hold of the big wolf, I just push him under the ground. And I bite him in a million bits, and I go pull him right down. When they're inside me where it's dark.
I don't know how many times I've watched that all the way through, but I hate to turn it off because it's about 4.5 minutes, but it's so enjoyable to watch. But it was probably, I'm going to say, around maybe 2010-ish, 2011, somewhere in there. We're having a big gathering of everybody at our house, and Nancy says, can you take all the grandkids outside? So I take them out, and after running around, I said, well, why don't we go back inside? And we go inside, and I pull out the laptop, and I go to Shirley Temple in this song. And standing around me, and in a tight little group, we're in a huddle, all of us, the grandkids and me, we're watching Shirley Temple sing Animal Crackers in My Soup. What was amazing, they were not looking away at all. They were not on gadgets and cell phones and other things. They were glued to this extraordinary child actress. What we're at least trying to do in our cases is get to a point like that, where the jury is becoming, I don't want to say excited, but the jury is enthralled with what we have to say and the way we're doing it. And they believe us, and the jurors trust in us. It doesn't mean you will still win every case. They might love you and trust you, but still feel, we just don't buy it. That's going to happen. So, language of depots, hearings, trial. Focus on your audience. Don't be saying, well, here's the point I want to make. No. Say, what is the point I need to make to brain merge with each juror? And remember, you cannot treat a group of jurors, whether it's 6 or 8 or 12, and the alternates, like just a group and they're all the same. If you have 6 jurors, you have 6 totally different, unique, special human beings. The 22-year-old likely learns in a totally different way from the 75-year-old juror, due to age, due to life experiences, due to many things. So you can't teach throughout the entire trial in just one way. So you teach one way to those who learn with the show and tell, another way to those who are the technologically proficient, another way to those who are the readers, another way to those who are, etc. Many different ways. Now, depositions, the statements, the questions must be clear and concise. You cannot ramble on. I got a transcript here, and I'm going to read an example of something you never want to do, but it's from a real case and a real trial. Or, well, it was a deposition that, in a case that went to trial. But if you are asking a physician on direct examination about her opinion as to whether or not the herniated disc was caused by the impact of the collision, you can't say, so I just need to get your opinion on the record. So do you think that the back issues are probably sort of caused by what happened in this accident? I know you all know better than that. But the question needs to be asked in at least two ways. One, because think of who your audience is: judge, trial judge, jury, defense lawyer, adjuster, appellate court. So for the legal part of it, you're going to say, do you have an opinion within a reasonable degree of medical probability as to whether or not the impact from the collision of January 17th, 2020 was the cause or significant cause of the herniation of the disc? There will be various ways you ask it. In some instances, you will say more likely than not. In some places, you have to say reasonable medical certainty, such as Florida when you're talking about future damages. Let me read this to you from the transcript. This was on a product liability case. And I'll put my glasses on here. Oops. Where'd they go? Here. All right. This is a plaintiff lawyer at the deposition of a plaintiff neurology expert in a brain injury case, asking a question after the defense lawyers have finished all of their questions. So in the 1 or 2% range that have that degree, is there some type of a correlating force? In other words, do you have enough recollection or maybe know-how of whether it's from your experience or perhaps your research of what the mechanism was, or actually the severity or the magnitude of that, including the orientation, result in vector or force? If you will, please, is there any discussion about that in your experience or in the literature that would result in something that severe? And then from the defense lawyers, object to the form of the question, object, that's not even a question. That's unacceptable. That's horrible. You have to focus on questions worded to effectively make a point. Keep it concise. Don't obsess over the 10 commandments of cross-examination. Now, I've heard some speakers say, well, they're wrong. I've heard other speakers say some of them are wrong. Here's what I will say. Professor Irving Younger's 10 commandments of cross-examination are excellent, but they're excellent as guidelines. Commandments are never supposed to be broken. Guidelines help us get from point A to point B. So when you see in the 10 commandments, never ask a question on cross-examination unless it's a leading question, nonsense. There are times to ask questions that are not leading. Another commandment, never ask a question unless you know the answer to the question when you're cross-examining. Nonsense. It should be, never ask a question on cross-examination unless you know the answer to the question or unless you feel you can handle the answer regardless of what it might be. Example, I'm trying a premises liability case where a woman who is attending the dance of the Catholic Widow and Widowers Club in downtown West Palm Beach. It's walking, it's dark, she's wearing not high heels, but medium heels, and the heel goes into this crack in the sidewalk. She goes down, fractures her elbow and arm and shoulder. In that instance, I had taken the deposition of the manager of the downtown Holiday Inn at the time. And I asked him, did you inspect that area at any time in 3 months before the incident? He said no. So I already know the answer. So in front of the jury, one way of asking the question is, isn't it true that in the 90 days before this incident occurred, nobody at the Holiday Inn ever conducted any inspection of the area where this happened? And he'll just say, yes. I'd rather have him say it. So in that instance, and we did mock try it, I said, I'd like you to look at the folks on the jury and tell them about each and every inspection you all at the Holiday Inn conducted in the 90-day period leading up to this incident. And he's just glaring at me, doesn't answer. I say to the judge, Judge, I'd ask that Your Honor, please instruct the witness to answer the question. The judge says, Judge Hewitt, he looks over, he goes, answer the question. And he looks at the jury as I had asked him, and he goes, he shakes his head, he goes, we just didn't do it. There were no inspections. That to me is a more powerful answer that is going to help us. Ginger, is this a good time for a break? All right. Here we go. Remember, new equipment, so give me a second.
All right, perfect. And John, this is so good. Thank you so much. I am so excited because today we're going to be bringing in Cody with Fox AE, and he's going to tell you guys a little bit more about what they do. But we're so happy to have him here today. And John, he's going to actually show us a little bit about what they do, which is incredible. I saw a little bit earlier. But Cody, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here, and thanks for inviting me out. And John, I've been really enjoying your presentation. I had a plan on what I was going to say, and based on what you said and what you've presented, I'm going to change that up. And I'm Cody. I'm the owner of a science and engineering graphics studio. And so what we do is we convey technical principles, we communicate in visual ways. So some things may not be easy to understand for a jury or even opposing counsel. And we make it simple, and we do brain merging. And so I'd like to give you an example of kind of walk you through kind of the brain merge process. And so this is one of the techniques. So thank you for inviting me here. It's an honor to be with Connectionology. And I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So the idea of the concept in your expert's brain, right? Your expert, or our expert on the plaintiff side here, he said, look, this impact happened at this location, yet there was hydroplaning, there was rain, there was no gouge marks in the road. And so how do you show that? How do you convince a jury or opposing counsel that that really happened? And so the plaintiff said, hey, I was stopped here and I was just taking a left turn and this guy hit me out of nowhere, just like this, swerved in my lane. How do you show that? So first we show, okay, this is how you can understand what happened. And we show it unfolding. But next they need to accept it. And so what we do, if I can pause right here, is we take these skid marks and we show an inspection site. Okay, that was a site photo based on the inspection. On the right and on the left is our 3D graphic. And so next they have to actually accept, wow, do the skid marks follow or do the skid marks support this expert's opinion? Do I accept it? And so then we have the red and it starts to make them believe, wow, the impact really happened in this location. It's all about the location for this particular case. And so as we show it, they start to believe, wow, this commercial driver was negligent. And now we move from causation and then we show the damages, the injuries. And so this mother lost her unborn baby due to this impact. And so now we go and we show her injuries. So we've got medical practitioners on staff, certified medical illustrators. I'm an engineer by trade. And so we're able to show these sagittal views. And now, not only do they understand, accept, and believe it, now they're ready to act on it. And so this is a communication tool. And so I'm just really passionate about it. I love it. And there's no other place I'd rather be than right here with you guys.
Oh my goodness. That was terrific, Cody. And I know you and your wife, Vicki, are doing some extraordinary work. But I just want to thank you for one thing that you have done. I am so happy that you have a photograph of me on the wall behind you. I just think that what a beautiful surprise.
You can really jump, John.
I can't. That was a couple of years ago. But I want to thank you for coming on board with Connectionology. I know that we are going to love working with you in Connectionology. We've already really enjoyed getting to spend some great time with you and your wife, Vicki. And for those who don't know, this is just a fabulous young man, and his wife, Vicki, is extraordinary, and they have young kids, and they are working hard, and they're both exceptionally bright. We have started working with them actually in some collapse case matters where they are doing the animations to put everything together for this collapse so that we'll be able to explain that to the judge and jury. But we thank you for your work. Thank you for becoming a sponsor and working with us. And we're looking forward to a wonderful and long and strong relationship. And give our regards to Vicki, okay?
Right back at you, John. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Cody. You can keep my picture up.
I will.
And I'm just like smiling because I'm also seeing these great comments. Kim just wrote in, that was really awesome. Cody Roberts, thanks for sharing that. It is so amazing when you can actually see it in action. So I hope everybody watching We'll save Cody's information. He's going to put it in the chat box for you guys now. And then again, at the end of this seminar, once I get a copy of John's slides, I'll be sending it out to everybody along with the contact information. So you can stay in touch with all of our amazing partners. But Cody, I can't wait to have you back. We're going to be doing more of these webinars together. And thank you to everybody for taking the moment to see all the incredible work that they do over there. All right, Cody, we'll see you soon. John, back to you.
Ready? All right. Okay. Again, 10 commandments across. Don't go crazy over that. Use them as a guideline. Create word pictures for the jurors. When you speak, describe things. If an incident occurs in the daytime and you're in your opening statement, when you talk about it, don't just say the incident happened on January 10th, 2020, and weather was not a factor. You say something like this: let's journey together back 2 years ago to January 10th of 2020, when it was a very, very special day here in South Florida, a typical, beautiful summer day with those white puffy clouds against a blue sky, etc. What you're trying to do is get the jurors to start envisioning where they are, so they start to feel it and they can smell it and they can taste it and they can experience it. But if you're just throwing out cold, useless words, you won't get them there. Develop what I call grip phrases. These are phrases where you use a 1 or 2 or 3 word description to talk about a particular witness or an event. You'll see I've just put a couple up here that I've used, but in one we said the defense expert turned the witness stand into a throne of absurdity. Well, throne of absurdity has some power to it. Their star witness wears a cloak of shame. That has some power to it. Or he or she is clothed with shame. Again, be thinking about grip phrases. All right. Practice, rehearsal, focus group. Can you imagine, I'm looking here to see, I don't see what I had something I was going to show you and I didn't bring it in here. But I want you to imagine that you are a college football fan. And as a college football fan, you pay a lot of money for tickets, you're going with a group, and you get into the stands. And for whatever reason, there's an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach, whatever, we'll call him Coach ABC, has given a lot of talks in the locker room to the team. They've gone through the playbook. A lot of times they're in great shape because they run wind sprints and do push-ups and all that. But today is going to be a great day because it'll be the first time the team has ever run any of these plays at all together as a team. You would immediately say, shame on the coach, shame on the system that would allow that. And it would be shameful. Yet in 99 and 9/10% of the cases in America that go to trial, the lawyers, whether they're criminal defense lawyers, plaintiffs, PI lawyers, whatever, are not rehearsing, are not practicing, are not conducting focus groups and mock trials. When you do mock trials, it's way more than trying to find out what issues they might be interested in or how they're leaning on certain points and arguments. It brings your team together to bond. It pulls together the team to make everyone a part of a more cohesive group. It allows you to practice with repetition what you're going to say in opening statement, or you might be practicing your jury selection or final argument or examination of whatever it is that you're doing. Great communicators practice. Great communicators rehearse. Great communicators do not leave the communication up to chance. And yet, in recent years, we've seen some so-called communicators on the national scene not prepare at all and just talk. And then when we read it, it appears incoherent. You don't want that to ever happen. You want to come across as skilled and talented in your capacity as a lawyer and a professional. When we do mock trials, we don't leave things to chance. I don't ask a paralegal, go find me 10 people and we'll just run it by them. No, we don't do that. I want a social scientist. By the way, it does not have to be a psychologist or a sociologist. It can be a psychologist, a sociologist. It can be a lawyer, and there are others who are qualified. But don't just get somebody who says, I got a gift. I got a special feel for people. I'm going to tell you what, that's bogus. I want somebody who knows and understands empirical data. I had a meeting several weeks ago out west with two lawyers, Mr. Claggett and Mr. Logan. And they were talking to me about a trial and how they did a big data analysis. And before the trial, they concluded the percentage of which there would likely be a plaintiff's verdict. And if there was a plaintiff's verdict, the range of where it was going to come in. And it happened. And they said, but John, it's happened again and again and again and again and again and again. And they went through it. By the way, there was a trial going on that they were involved in when I met with them that weekend. There was a verdict in their case about a week later, and exactly what they told me was going to happen, happened. Focus groups, mock trial studies, big data analysis, and evaluations are crucial. So call the people that understand how to do these. Don't get somebody that's not qualified. You get somebody who knows what he or she is doing.
Jared.
Let me back up a minute. When you look at this on the screen, the ones down at the bottom where you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, those are each of the jurors. And we can tell as I'm speaking how each is evaluating the evidence, because each juror has in his or her lap a little computer device where they move it one way if they agree and another way if they disagree. And then up at the top, you see the yellow line, which is for female, the blue line, which is for male. So we can see how the males, how the females are responding to different things. This is one way of doing these. There are many, many ways of doing these mock trial exercises.
Because a trucking company made mindless decisions. They had.
All right. Power of show and tell. I can't say enough about demonstrating your case to the judge and jury. The jury needs to understand what happened. And you just saw Cody Roberts a few minutes ago through the use of an engineering created and developed animation or simulation show exactly that. And of course, at trial, an accident reconstruction expert would be on the stand testifying as to his or her reconstruction. It helps us understand, just like when we watch the rockets go into space and to see what the astronauts were doing on the moon or whatever they're doing in the space shuttles over the years, it was animated so that we could see what they were doing and how they were doing it. You need to make sure your demonstrative evidence as a communication is accurate and that it is necessary. Don't just do it because somebody at a seminar said, yeah, you need some type of a demonstrative aid for something. One of the things that we have really been able to use a lot, and I hope you can see it, I'm going to get a little closer. As you can see, I'm loving this technology with the camera moving with me. But this is a skull with the brain in it. We use these in TBI cases. And take this out, and there are two things that we're doing with these primarily. One is to pass this around to the jurors so that each juror gets, if I can bring that in a little closer, each juror gets to hold it in his or her hand and feel somewhat what the brain is like, because we will have an expert who will say, yes, that's the approximate same weight of the brain of the injured plaintiff. That's somewhat how it feels when you would put your hands on it, not that you would just put your hands around the brain, those sorts of things. The other thing we like to pass around is this, so that the jurors can see what the inside of the skull is like and what happens in especially in a coup, contra coup type of an incident. Very important that you are demonstrating your case to the jury. All right. This is another example of a way to demonstrate your case to the jury through a dash cam on a car. And this is actually a dash cam mounted on a car approaching the FIU pedestrian bridge in the moments before it collapsed. There were deaths, there were injuries, and as the car is approaching, so that you will know, before the collapse occurred, a report was going through the cell phones with texts and or emails with photographs showing very significant cracks in the bridge and saying the equivalent of, Houston, we've got a problem. And they didn't do anything, and you're going to see what happened. All right. I'm going to show you this again. Two of the folks we were involved in representing are on the left side of the bridge at the top, and you can actually see them. It's difficult as this collapse occurs. They're right near where you see that crane on the left side. Just horrible. But important that in your cases, you do everything you can do to obtain video. And that means an immediate investigation, secure the evidence, get the 911 tapes. You know what to do. But make sure that you try to have someone comb the area to get any video. And it doesn't have to be video of the incident itself. It might be video of a car or a truck 3 miles before where the incident took place. but an engineer can tell, okay, that truck was going 85 miles an hour. This is important. Be articulate. I know some people who it takes them 100 words to say what somebody else can say in 10 words. Important to be articulate in front of the jury. If you ramble, you lose credibility. If you use excess and unnecessary words, you lose credibility. Here's an example. That is so simple, so straightforward. How old are you? You don't need to say, I am 30. You don't need to say 30 as of my last birthday. The question is, how old are you? 30. Here's another example. Somebody else asks the same question. This is the inarticulate response. Well, they tell me I was born on Valentine's Day way back in 1977, so that would put me somewhere around my mid-40s or so, I guess. Whenever you start using words like I guess, like you say like sorta, oh, maybe this or that, get away from that. I cannot stress that enough. Next point, presence. The first time I heard about presence was when I was in the Marine Corps. And it had to do with what they called military bearing. But bearing occurs, I don't care who you are or where you are. It's about how you carry yourself when you're in front of the jurors. It's not just how you talk. It's everything. Your dress, the way you comb your hair, the jewelry you are wearing, the way you step and put one foot in front of the other, the way you stand, whether it's erect or you're slumped over like you're about to fall asleep. It's all of those kinds of things. I will start by saying be natural and don't ever do something that other people do when it comes to the way you normally walk and carry yourself just because they said do it, because usually it will look fake. But you look at these fighter pilots, and what do you see? Sharp, physically fit, smart. The first time I heard smart as it appeared to the way people dressed, my eldest sister was in the Air Force. And I remember at a graduation, my mom saying, doesn't Frances look so smart? And I thought, smart? I know she's smart. Well, then I found out what she meant. Those three, we don't know what they sound like or anything else, but at least this initial impression, and think about the book Blink. Remember, when we first see somebody, in a split second, we make over 300 judgments in our inner mind about that person that'll never change. We've already done that with these three. Jurors do that with us. Judges do that with us. Opposing counsel does that with us. When we first meet a new lawyer we've never met before in either a hearing or deposition or some kind of a meeting. Dress is key. Appearance is key. You don't need to be, you don't have to have your hair a particular way or have some kind of particular brand of clothing or any of that. A very natural boy next door, girl next door type of appearance is the most credible. Your movements are important. You must study body language. Smiling is very, very important. Are you coming across as authoritative or passive, or perhaps somewhere in between? And then, as I said, smartness. Poise, always important. How do you behave under pressure? How do you behave under stress? Think about that. You get in an airplane and the pilot says, folks, you're in turbulent weather, and they're serving the food and the drink cart, the food carts in the middle. And all of a sudden the pilot comes over the loudspeaker to announce, I want the flight attendants to sit down, everybody buckle up, we're going to go through some rough weather for a few minutes. When the pilot says, this is Captain Jones, we're okay. I'm going to ask the flight attendants to take a seat. We've got a little bit of rough weather or turbulence up ahead. It should only take a few minutes. We'll be out of it, and then we'll start serving the drinks and food again. So why don't you just lay back and relax, and I'll be back to you in a few minutes. And the pilots seem to always speak with a very confident voice, and we feel good. But can you imagine if in the same scenario, the pilot with a screeching, high-pitched voice goes, buckle up, we're in trouble. Everybody would freak out. Poise, especially under stress and pressure. The jury's watching you. Be a leader, be ready to adjust. You see this? The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change. The leader adjusts the sails. Be like a chameleon. They change colors when they jump from one branch or tree or plant to another. You need to be like that because things happen in depositions, in trials, in hearings, and mediation, and you need to be able to adapt and to adjust. Finally, the 7 deadly sins of speaking. Here they are. This is what you don't want to do, especially in front of jurors. They don't want excuses. They don't want you complaining. Exaggeration is horrible. You can see these. So I know this. When any case is over, I would love to get the golden buzzer. Occasionally, Nancy and I will watch this show, America's Got Talent. I know most of you don't want to admit it, but I know you're watching it also. Just like you're watching American Ninja Warrior. I know who you are. I can identify you. I don't want to be up giving a final argument and at least theoretically having the 4 judges go no, 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 no with those buzzers. I want them to be so thrilled with what they're seeing that they're on the edge of their seats ready to pop that golden buzzer and say, you automatically are going to the finals. That's the end where I want to be in our cases. I have enjoyed doing this today. I love doing this. I love learning. I love teaching. When I was recently out at Mark Lanier's program, I sat there and took page after page after page of notes, and I learned so much. And we all learn from each other, and that's what we've got to always keep doing, learning from each other as much as we can. And if we do that, we are all going to really do extraordinary things for our clients. When we do great things for our clients, then great things happen for our law firms. And then great things happen for our staff and all of the people involved in our firms. And then great things happen for our families. All because we did great things for our clients. So work hard, fight hard, think hard, and all will work out. I've enjoyed this and I can't wait to do it again. And Ginger, I will turn it back to you.
Fantastic. And John, we actually have a couple questions that have come in. If it's okay, do you have time to take a couple of them?
Of course I do.
All right.
There.
The first one comes from Gregory, and he says, in terms of effectively conveying the theme, theory, case image from the outset, do you have any tips for opening statements on the best practices to effectively communicate this without delving too much into the argument style advocacy prematurely? For example, are there any techniques such as voice, tonality, pitch that we should be more sparingly used or tempered in the opening?
Well, I do have an answer to the question. That's an extraordinary question, but the answer is theme, theory, case image. I know that theme and theory I'm going to be bringing out in part during the discovery. I know that during jury selection, as much as I can, I will try to discuss certain facts and aspects of the case and try to get into the theme and the theory. So then we move to opening statement. And here's what happens. Definitely the theory, because I'm going to lay out the theory in opening statement. When it comes to the theme, I might not get to every sub-theme, but if the theme of my case is this is a medical doctor who ran medical red light, yes, I'm going to say, what was that red light? And then he ran 4 medical stop signs. What were they? And I will go to an easel. I won't do that on PowerPoint. I want to be more of a teacher where I'm doing it. So I'll write up on an easel or a whiteboard, and I will explain our theory on how the doctor ran the medical red light, how it could have been prevented. Now, the great part of Gregory's question, now we come to the case image. And it's a tough one for this reason. And let me just give an example. In one case, we had a horrible situation. I'm not going to go through it all now, but it's very emotional if we did it in like 20 minutes. I'm going to do it in like 1 minute. But a woman is driving, 3 of her kids are in the car, and one of the kids, who's 11 years old, serious injuries, abdominal injuries. She's injured. 6-year-old in the middle back seat killed. 1-year-old in the middle, in the left seat in the back, who's properly in a car seat, killed. And the long and short of it is, there was an extraordinary series of things that happened to where she learned, after she woke up from an induced coma in the hospital, how that her children had been killed. That was the ultimate case image for that case. And we made a decision we weren't going to touch it anywhere in jury selection or opening, or even with the mother on the stand, but rather with the brother, who is the one who saw it all happen. And it was extraordinary the way it came out. So with case image, sometimes you wait, and you wait till the right time with the right witness. Very, very important. Gregory, one thing I would recommend to you, get a subscription to CVN, Courtroom View Network. I think it's cvn.com. You will see hundreds of personal injury and wrongful death jury trials on there. From opening statement forward, everything. It's tremendous. They do not keep jury selection because cameras are not allowed to film jurors and lawyers during jury selection, because a lot of it is so personal. But get a subscription to CVN, it's well worth it.
Fantastic. Thank you, John. And this next question comes from Michael. And Michael, we're definitely going to share the PowerPoint with you. Once I get a copy of the slides, I'll make sure I email it around to everybody who's watching today. And then probably on Monday, I'll be posting this webinar on our YouTube channel. But he wanted to know, John, what do you think about lawyers joining Toastmasters to work on some or all of these verbal and physical factors directed to persuasion and sincerity of the message?
It is a great idea. You cannot practice enough. You cannot get up on your feet enough. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you become in doing it. And whether it's Toastmasters or speaking at seminars, conducting mock trials and focus group sessions, practicing, I would say, I don't know, I guess you could practice on your own, but the one or two times I tried that early in my career, it was like almost, it was just weird. I'm in a room with the door shut, practicing like an opening statement, and it was like, I didn't like that. I want to be talking to somebody. But any of those organizations or clubs, I know one lawyer, Paul Finizio down in Fort Lauderdale. You go to work for Paul, it is mandatory that you go to the entirety of a Dale Carnegie speaking and confidence and leadership course. That is required to be a part of his law firm. And those courses can be tremendous. So anything like that will help.
Okay, great. And then this question comes from the incredible economist down in South Florida, Mr. Biff Pettingill. He said, is there a checklist that you use at trial or depo to help keep you on point when it comes to the brain merging in every instance?
Wow. Well, just to an aside for a moment, that question comes from Dr. Bernard Pettingill, Biff Pettingill, who I don't know, but I'm guessing that I've had him on the stand in trials probably, I don't know, 60 times or so. An extraordinary man and a great, great expert. And the question is, do I have a checklist? Not a checklist in terms of the brain merging, okay? But I do prepare an outline for everything I do at trial. I have an outline of voir dire. I do the outline myself for every case. Do I get help from others? Of course I do. We have worked extensively for a few decades now with Harvey A. Moore, PhD in trial consulting and litigation consulting. When I complete my voir dire, which might be, I don't know, just a lot of questions, okay? I will send it to Dr. Moore, and he will basically say, nope, get rid of that, keep this. And then he gives me a lot of other questions in each area. I put them in there. I will do the same with co-counsel. What do you think I should add? What should I take out? So I have that opening statement. I have an outline. I don't have it written out, but I may have like a word. So my opening statement outline might be 3 pages. And let's say I have 20 things I'm going to cover in opening. All I need is a word or two or a phrase, and that kicks my brain into remembering that's what I'm going to cover. And then if there's something that I need to go to specifically, I might read from a medical record, or we might be doing a PowerPoint or keynote presentation, and we will do that. But it's not a checklist per se, even though I'm basically obsessed with checklists and I love them for everything, including investigation, a voir dire checklist that is not so much meant for the questions I want to use in the case. It's meant to prepare for voir dire. And I'll share all of the checklists with anybody who wants them.
Okay, great. And I'm just going to take 2 more quick questions, John, but I'm smiling because James Durinsky wrote in. He said, old dog, new tricks. You topped yourself today, Mr. Romano.
I don't know. I tell everybody, I said, what happens is when you reach 40, you have to think 40 for the rest of your life. And then you'll be 40. So Just a
Okay,
thought.
then I'm not aging. I'm staying the same age forever. This next question is from Gary. He wants to know, which I think you mentioned earlier, but the type of a camera equipment and the automation that you use today.
Let me move forward as I read this to you. I am loving this equipment. It's called Neat Bar Pro. That's Neat, N-E-A-T, Bar Pro. You should call Kevin Piana, P-I-A-N-A, at Palm Beach Prestige Innovations. And he'll either do it or he'll hook you up with somebody in your state. But it is great. And I like it because we'll be able to do a lot more with it, but especially if you're going to do podcasts.
And I'd also just like to quickly mention, like all of the famous influencers, podcasters, and YouTubers out there, there's no commission being given to John on this amazing advice that he's giving you guys today. This is truly something that, you know, is going to be wonderful to use moving forward. And I am very excited. I hope I'll be able to expand my equipment out here too, John. I'm going to take one more question today. Again, this one comes from Gregory. He said, in trial, for circumstances and points that you want to get ahead and diffuse the bad facts and the weaknesses of your case ahead of time before the defense points it out, are there any techniques or phrases to recommend or avoid where you present the bad fact weakness credible, or I guess credibly,
Yeah, no,
but
I
not to
get
the
it.
point where it looks weak?
Yeah, I get what the question is. You're basically taking the wind out of the defense sails by getting out ahead of it and revealing the bad thing. So example, if my client is on a motorcycle, has a head injury, but is not wearing a helmet. Well, in most places that I know of, the jury gets to know whether or not he had a helmet on. Okay, let's just say that same client had, I don't know, 3 beers 5 hours before the incident. Let's say that he was charged with domestic abuse a year before the incident, but he and his wife are still married now. And of course, we're bringing a loss of consortium claim. I could go on and on and on, but those are the kind of problems. The answer is, I'm not waiting till opening statement. I'm going to get to those in jury selection. And the wording will always be different. I get input from my trial litigation consultant. So in the instances I told you about, it was Dr. Harvey Moore. And I might say, I want to shift gears and go to a different subject, folks. You're going to hear that as Billy was riding along, he was not wearing a helmet. And the question would not be exactly like this, but I want to know, what do you think about that? I'll ask an open-ended question, and I will try to steer to a juror who I think is going to give an answer where an unfavorable juror will be someone I'll be able to challenge for cause when I hear that answer. But you have to be able to go into that in order to get a fair trial. So I want to say, all right, you're going to hear my client was speeding. You're going to hear my client drank alcohol. You're going to hear that whatever it may be. I will just share this with you on that question. In 1985, Mike Erickson, and I know some of you are not born then, but in 1985, my partner Mike Erickson and I tried a Dalcon Shield IUD product liability case. And one of the issues was that she was 20. And back then, the mere fact that she was using an IUD meant that a 20-year-old single young lady was using a contraceptive device. Well, we had I don't even know what to call him, but a strongly opinionated preacher on the panel. And right from the start, he was difficult, okay? And we had to bring it out. The glorious news is that the judge, who was great, Judge Mary Lupo, she sensed immediately this guy is about to taint the entire jury and, you know, start throwing out some answers that'll be problematic. She goes, hold on a second, Mr. Romano, hold on. Come up to the bench. Preacher, juror, come up to the bench. And after about 2 minutes at the bench, she goes, go back down to the clerk's office. I'm excusing you for cause, out. So we were fortunate. But the answer to your question is, as rapidly as possible, by that I mean early in the case, talk to the jurors about your problems and get it out there. You do not want the defense lawyer saying, you know, I wonder why the plaintiff lawyers didn't tell you he wasn't wearing his helmet and he beat his wife and he was speeding and he was drunk. Okay. Answer over.
No, this is good. I wanted you to keep going. All right. Well, listen, this has been absolutely amazing today, John. I cannot thank you enough. I mean, all these great tips. I can't thank you enough for your time today. This has been incredible. And what I'm going to do is, once I get the copy of the slides and get everything posted, I'll make sure everybody gets all of that information. But I'm smiling in the chat because everyone still wants to know about this camera equipment. So I'll make sure that they can reach out to you directly to find out some more information on that. But I've got Ted with us, and Ted is going to do the big.
I see a familiar face there.
I know. Ted, we are so excited to have you today. Thank you for everything that HMR does. If you don't mind, tell us who the winner is of the great coffee giveaway.
Sure. Okay. I'm absolutely, I just want to say that I'm excited to announce the winner is Samantha Reed out of Tampa, Florida. And she's awesome. The winner of some frankly great coffee, guaranteed to keep you awake. Did I use enough filler words?
Do you think that's correct?
Oh.
Wait, we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. I have a feeling in the near future, John. But congratulations to Samantha. We're so excited that you won. Amazing firm as well. And we hope you enjoy the coffee. Ted, thank you for bringing cheer on our webinars day in and day out. And again, if you were not a winner today, John Romano, don't give up. I know, John, you've been wanting to win, but like I said, don't give up. You never know when it's going to happen. Our next webinar is going to be next Tuesday and next Thursday. I'm actually putting all the webinars up on the website as we speak for July. So thank you to everybody for sharing these with all of your colleagues. If there's anybody watching who's interested in being a speaker, please reach out to me. I'm also smiling because I saw Mark O'Mara, an amazing attorney down there with you in Florida, John.
Mark.
Yeah, he's actually going to be speaking for us in August as well with his amazing paralegal and the famous Doug Bean. So we're going to have a good time on that webinar. But again, if anyone's watching, we're always looking for great speakers. So please reach out to me at ginger@connectionology.com. And again, Ted, can't wait to see you back here again very soon. Thank you for everything that you and HMR does for all of us.
You're welcome. It's always fun.
And then last but not least, all I want to do is share my screen one more time so that way you guys can jot down this information, stay in touch with John. Please reach out to him if you have any questions that we weren't able to get to today. His email is john@romanolowgroup.com. And then please stay in touch with our 3 amazing partners over at HMR, On Point Legal Nurse Consulting, and then Fox AE, because they're doing great work and we're so blessed to work with them. We were such good people on all of these webinars and seminars that we do. So thank you for all of your support. And that is all that I have today, John, unless you have anything else you'd like to add.
No, just I thank everybody for attending. This has been great. And I thank our sponsors and I thought those questions were great and can't wait to do the next one. And thank you for everything, Ginger.
All right, guys, we'll see you later. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll be back in touch with you very soon. Bye, guys.